We are in the middle of a heat wave that affects the beer menu, so let's switch it up. So we're reacting to this lovely heat that we're experiencing. Let's see what that does to the beer menu. Come. When the UK experienced that freak heat wave at the end of May, what that does is when it's pleasantly hot, everybody goes to the other pubs with the big beer gardens. And then when it gets too hot, so it started to hit over 30 degrees on several days, no one went out, not even to the big pub beer gardens, because it was too hot for people then, and we're not really built for that sort of heat in the UK. In London, our buildings just heat up, everybody melts because we don't have air conditioning as standard, and people just stopped drinking cask ale. So that meant we had over 40 pints wasted on cask ale. Perfectly good beer that we just did not shift in the shelf life that ale has because it's a live product. Everybody wanted to drink cold and fizzy beer. It takes quite a while to drain off over 40 pints of ale. I've got to get the cask light enough to be able to lift it off of the racks there as well. An empty cask is just over 10 kilograms in weight. So I've got to be sensible about how I do this. That background whirring noise that you can hear is the sound of my cellar chilling unit kicking in. So when the heat wave came, I also reduced the temperature of my cellar. So at the point it hits 9 degrees, my cooling unit kicks in to keep this room really, really cold. It does mean my electricity bill is working harder and probably going through the roof. Such a shame to see this much beer go down the drain, but we use the data to make the week following better. Still want to serve real ale as a beer option down the pub, but I will reduce the number of cask ales available to try and avoid this much wastage. The revenue figure at best for over 40 pints of ale wasted is around £250, and in the current climate it's not viable week in, week out. So there's no point in crying over spilt beer. As a small business, you keep moving. I can make a reactive decision to add more keg beer, so the colder, fizzier beers that people will enjoy during the heat wave. Keg beers last much longer than cask ales. They don't have the same short shelf life like an ale does. The best way to think about cask ale versus keg beer is long life milk versus fresh milk. Ales are like fresh milk. Keg beers are like your long life milk. A quick line clean for another keg beer to go on. I always do water, purple beer line cleaner, and then I double flush with water again. This is quite excessive. But I just like to make sure that our lines are incredibly clean. Many people who own a pub or a brewery will tell you that beer is 80% cleaning. You just spend your time cleaning, and that's all right. It's quite therapeutic. more agile decision making. I also restocked the fridge with things that would go down really well in the heat. I find that more people, when it's really hot outside, are actually drinking at home. So barbecues and garden parties. People want beer to take away, and we actually do all right on takeaway sales when it's super warm. I don't know if anybody else has noticed this, but one thing I notice about a micropub versus your bigger kind of more corporate pub is micropubs tend to have a beer board like this, where the beers, the breweries and the pricing is all listed, quite visible for you to see. Whereas if you go to like a big pub, you've just got the tap fonts in front of you on a bar, but you actually don't know what you're paying. And then you all of a sudden are paying £8.20 for a pint of 4% pale ale. So the beer menu was flipped. So I reduced my cask ale offering to 2 cask ales, and then the keg beer was 4 keg beers. And one of those was very purposely a 3.4% session IPA, because I find when it's really hot, people are kind of steering away from your IPAs as well. So they're so dehydrated that they actually just want low ABV, really easy drinking beers. And because they're so dehydrated, they actually are going to feel the effects of like a 6% and above beer way faster. We did actually have a double IPA on at this time, which I bought in for somebody's birthday request. And because it was so hot, it was actually sort of sticking around on our board for a bit longer than we would like to. Again, with keg beer, that doesn't matter. But because it was so hot, people were so dehydrated, nobody's smashing an 8% West Coast double IPA, funnily enough. So that's how we reacted to the freak heatwave at the end of May. Flipping our beers around, restocking our fridge. I sometimes get asked if I was to do anything differently, starting my micropub, what would that be? And I would say, 9 years in, find a space with a beer garden. Never underestimate the British public, a sunny day, and a pub beer garden.